Hello and welcome to the Unstoppable Joy podcast. I'm your host, Katherine Curry, and I want to share with you today some incredible things that we can do to bring joy and bring love and security and fulfillment to those around us. And that is the ability to give them our blessing. It's much easier than you might think. It just takes a little planning and a little know-how, and that's what we're going to discuss today. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite beverage, and let's get started. We've been talking for some time now on how our words have weight, and I've been privileged to be a part of a Bible study that is based on the book, The Blessing. I am thrilled to be able to share with you the things that I've been learning. And my fiance, Joe, has been right along there with me learning these things, and it has just been so enlightening. This book has been instrumental in my life for some time, and I'm revisiting it now to share with you. And I actually was invited to be a part of this small group that is being led by the author, John Trent, and his daughter, Carrie. And it's been so incredible to be able to ask them questions and kind of pick their brains on things and actually walk with them through the steps of learning how to bless and what that means. I'm just going to share with you a few things today to get us started. And one of those things is the verse Deuteronomy 30:19. And it says, "Today I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Choose life." It's kind of like, here's a test, and here's the no-brainer answer. Choose life. You can either bless or you can curse. You can have life or you can have death. It says, hey, here's the answer. Choose life. But what does that mean? What does that mean when God is saying that He gives us that choice? Well, our words are the choice. Those are the things that we can put into place in our lives and the lives of others that can make a huge impact. We can speak life, or we can speak death. We can bring a blessing, or we can bring a curse by the things that we say and how we respond to people and how we communicate with them. Now, I grew up in a home where my parents were both very busy people. They were very active, they were hardworking, and they were present, but they weren't really present. They were there, but I don't feel like I ever received a blessing of acceptance and encouragement from them. And so, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the opposite that I feel of blessing is actually rejection. And that rejection can lead to a whole spiral downward of self-sabotage. And if you want to go back and check out that episode, it was pretty powerful, talking about how to overcome those things that have caused us pain in our lives, those rejections, and what to do about that. But today I'm going to talk about the opposite side of the coin, which is that blessing and how we can give that blessing to those around us. This verse I mentioned, Deuteronomy 30, verse 19, talks about the power of life and death, okay? That in in Proverbs 20... I can't remember. It's 20 something. It says that we have the power in the life in the there is power in life in the tongue. The power of life and death is in the tongue. And so our words have weight. Now, when this verse in Deuteronomy talks about life and death, as it's explained in this book, The Blessing, and actually takes it back to the Hebrew that the original text was written in, the word life means movement, and it means like a moving towards. When you offer life to someone, you open up to them, you move towards them. And then on the reverse of that is death. It's stepping away. Basically, when somebody is leaving a relationship. They step away from you. They step away from you physically. They step away from you emotionally. And sometimes that stepping away is actually through death. If someone passes away, they step away. And then this verse also talks about blessing and curses. It says that a blessing is the bowing of the knee and giving someone reverence. We don't do this so much in our culture today, but bowing a knee and giving someone reverence is like showing them that they have value and honor. And I like to think about it. There's a verse, I can't remember where it is, but it talks about worshiping like a dog. I know it sounds funny, but the verbiage is to worship before the Lord like a dog before its master. And I am such a dog lover. And I just think about, when you come home and your dog is so excited to see you, and they then roll over on their bellies and they want you to pet them. They're wagging their tail. They're looking up to you. But in the aspect of the dog's nature, that is a symbolism of exposing your weakness, exposing your vulnerability to them. See, dogs are pack animals, and when the head of the pack shows up, the other dogs roll on their backs and they, look up and they wag their tails, but they're actually exposing their throat to the lead dog. And it is a sign of reverence. It's a sign of giving authority and giving honor to that the lead dog. And that's what we do with the Lord, is when we worship, we basically say, you are God and I am not, and we expose ourselves, we expose our weakness to him and allow him to come near us and come knowing that he could tear us apart at any time, but he gently licks us and nudges our nuzzle. I love that imagery, but that when I think about blessing, that's what I think about. I think about how when we bless somebody, and that's blessing the Lord, that's blessing those in authority, is being vulnerable with them and showing them honor and making ourselves lower in them. When I was in Thailand, that was a huge thing that we had to keep in mind. And as us Westerners, we're so much taller than the Asian people that we were in their villages and in their homes. It was so important in that culture that if you are entering into a home, that you never have your head higher than the elders' level of their head. You would always bow down and get underneath them, because having your head above the level of their head was a sign of disrespect. So blessing is one of the things that we are told to do. And the opposite of that is cursing. Now, the word curse means to dam up the stream. And I love that picture because, can you imagine what your words could do to the blessings of God in your life and in other people's lives? We talked a little bit last week about the power of personal vows, and basically that those are curses that we place on ourselves and our situations and our families, and how that God is giving us a choice, and how, like the Israelites, he had never planned for them to suffer and die in the wilderness, but because they kept on speaking over and over again, oh, that we had died in Egypt, oh, that we had died in the wilderness, you just brought us out here to kill us, you just brought us out here to let us die. And God just got he's like, fine, I'll give you what you are asking and what you are speaking over your situation. And that whole generation ended up dying in the wilderness. So just like this verse in Deuteronomy is saying, I've set before you life and death, blessing and curses. And choose life. He's saying, I've told you the way to go. This is not the way to go. You don't want the death and you don't want the curse. So this is the way to go. So just like that curse means to dam up the stream. And it gives the imagery of a stream that has dried up because further up, there's been a dam in that stream, and the blessing and the freshness of that water is not allowed to reach you. So think about the things that you have before you. You have blessing and cursing, life and death, and blessing and passing along that blessing brings life to people and to your loved ones. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more today, about what the parts of that are. And I'm sure that we'll go on more in this because there's so much to talk about. But I'm just going to start by giving you kind of the 5 elements, according to the book, The Blessing, by John and Carrie, his daughter. There's a revision that's come out, and there's some really exciting things coming up. I'll tell you before we end today. But the 5 elements that they mention in the book about how to give the blessing are appropriate, meaningful touch, spoken or written message, attaching high value to the one being blessed, picturing a special future for him or her, and an active, genuine commitment to fulfilling the blessing. Now, that sounds like a lot, and we'll unpack it here a little bit today, but those are the 5 basic elements of giving the blessing to someone. First of all is appropriate, meaningful touch. And all of these 5 pieces of the blessing, they all come from biblical reference. The story that they base the whole book on is the story in Genesis 27, where Isaac is giving his blessing to his children. And there was a bit of drama here because Jacob was the younger brother. Esau was the older brother. Esau should have gotten the blessing, but Jacob tricks him out of it. So there's all this dynamic that goes on, and Esau is just grief-stricken because he didn't get that blessing. But when Isaac gave the blessing to his children, he said, "Come near to me now and kiss me." And, he brought them near and he showed them affection. And then he ascribes to them some value with his words. He says that he calls his son like a field. And to us, that doesn't really mean a whole lot. But back then, if you think about, a field was a place of abundance. It was a place of great wealth and value. And so he ascribes high value to him. Using his words, he speaks a blessing over his kids. And then he declares a special future, basically gives them a word picture of who they are and what you see God doing in their lives, and then the excitement of what that could be in the future. And then lastly, it talks about giving a genuine commitment to being actively involved in ensuring that they do succeed. I think back over my life and my upbringing, and wow, what incredible words could have been spoken. I did hear a lot, that I'm proud of you, that I love you, but again, with the words and the reassurance of being there for someone and ensuring that they have success, there's just a way of expressing this blessing that I didn't get that growing up. There were people in my life on the way to where I am now that spoke blessing over me. I think of some ministers in my life that spoke this to me, and and were instrumental in being a part of my life and encouraging me. I think about my older sibling, especially my sister Jenny, who has always been there for me. And she's the one that took me in when things were rough and I was ended up homeless with my kids. There's different people that have spoken a blessing over me and fulfilled parts of that to me. But when you get that from your parents, it's a whole different story. It's a game changer. And if you can do that for your kids now, how incredibly powerful would that be? We all hear about, different parenting styles. And one of the things we hear a lot about is encouraging the good that you see in people, whether that's a spouse, a child, a coworker, whatever it is that you want to see. Basically, you want to water the flower and not the weeds. If you continue to, cut down and bring to light the things that people did wrong, that's just not going to help them to change. It's just beating a dead horse. It's basically watering those weeds. If you want the good to grow in your life and in someone else's life, then you have to feed the good. You have to feed the good and start speaking the blessing, speaking the good over someone's life. I've seen this with my own kids. When I get angry and upset with them, when they were little, for not doing something right or for disappointing me and not doing what I've asked them to do, or for purposely, causing fights or, doing things that were not in line with who I knew that they were in Christ, I would get upset with them. And I admit I would yell at them. And at one point I realized that this was not the way to parent. And I was unhappy with myself, and I was unhappy with where I was in my life. And I purposely made a change to start, one, taking care of myself, finding outlets for my stress, and begin to deal with my anger, and also begin taking care of my health. Once I did that, I began to start to see things a little bit differently. I was able to also kind of step back and think about how I was responding and how I was talking to my kids. And I started to change how I approach things. Now, I can't say I was a perfect parent. I don't know if that there is one on the planet, but I began to encourage the good. When I saw something good, I would encourage it, even if it was just a glimpse of wow, that was a moment of you not being selfish, or that was a moment of you being responsible, or whatever it was, and encouraging the good, encouraging whether they seemed to be a good friend to those around them, or they were very gentle or conscientious of making sure that the dog had water, or looking out for somebody else's needs, or picking up a towel, like just being grateful for the things that they do that are correct, that are right, that are, showing signs of maturity and responsibility. Whatever you want to see grow in them, whatever you want to see produced, you water that. So just like the blessing is bringing out the good and making a point of letting them know that you are committed to them and that you are expressing your love to them and your delight in them. That is what really is the central principle of the blessing. If you want to find out more about this book, you can head on over to Amazon and check it out. It's called The Blessing, and I will put a link in my bio to this so you can join in. I will put a link in my show notes to this so you can join in and find out about a very special day that is coming up. It is coming up in the next month. It's going to be a day of blessing, and it is a call to action for all of us to give the blessing to those around us, to set aside a day specifically to speak the words of blessing, of healing, of encouragement and love and appreciation and delight in someone, and also giving them that knowing that you will be with them every step of the way to ensure that they are successful, to ensure that they find their joy in life. And that's what I want to do for you. So today, as an example of this, I want to give you my blessing. Now, I can't physically reach out and give you a hug, but I just want you to imagine that I have my arm around you and I've tucked you in under my arm, and I am saying to you that I am so happy that I have you in my life, that you have chosen to spend this time with me on a weekly basis. And I am so honored that you would spend your valuable time with me and think about the things that I am teaching you and sharing with you, and that you're doing it with such an open heart and an open mind, and that you have the courage and the strength to make the changes that you need to. It is so amazing to me to think that I get to be a part of this. And I tell you, I will be here every step of the way. And you can reach out to me and I will support you in any way possible. But I am so excited to see where that you go on this journey. And I cannot wait to hear how you've been blessed by this podcast and many others. Hope you have a great week. And I can't wait to catch up with you next week. Be blessed.